Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Thursday, September 29th, 2022. I have so much to talk to you about. A lot is going on here. So, I don't rehearse any of this stuff. I literally just, I write down a few things, like I did today, and I just start talking. As a matter of fact, if you were to look back on every single interview I have ever done, none of it is rehearsed. No questions are submitted in advance. Why am I telling you all this? Because I want it to be real, okay? I don't want to, have to think about what I'm going to say. I want it to be bang, 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 just like that. I think it's really important. Anyway, with that said, let's cover this. Let's cover what's happening here and maybe a few other things that I think you need to hear about. Okay. So let's start off with this freak show of a stock market. So steep losses across the board today, despite the fact, pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, despite the fact that today, debt market 10-year yield didn't do too much. As a matter of fact, even the dollar relative strength got weaker. Yet, after yesterday's, pretty monumental rally off of this new round of quantitative easing by the Bank of England here, the stock market fell. Now, we have to consider what we're looking at here. Is this panic selling? Or is this something else? Because again, debt market stable today. Dollar weaker today. So what happened here? Why is the market selling off? There could be a myriad of reasons behind this. You got to laugh. You look at the mainstream media today, the propaganda ministry. I mean, they're in full swing, discussing about how strong our economy is. We're adding jobs, despite the fact that the economy is shrinking. How does that work? Look, the data's fake. But their job there is to, paint a rosy picture for you to keep you, not understanding what's really going on. And this goes beyond things to an extreme level, which I want to address just really, really quickly in just a little bit. But again, look, we have to consider, first of all, let's come to an obvious conclusion, and that is the stock market today, being that there is no price discovery mechanism behind it. I'm talking about the stock markets of the world here, because of the action of central banks who continue to inflate, keeping rates artificially suppressed. The stock market's in la-la land. It has no business being here. None. Okay, so that's just number one. There is going to be a moment, and you know this, where all this gets very real, where it corrects to fair value. They can do anything they want to. They can keep trying to fund this thing, create reasons out of thin air to borrow cash into existence. Oh yeah, President Biden is sending billions of dollars more to fund a war. How do you feel about that? Were you consulted? Do you support what's going on? Where do we get this cash from? Let me ask you that. Do you think we just have it stashed away? All the hundreds of billions of dollars that we're sending over to the Ukraine and everywhere else to propagate wars all over the world here? Where does that cash come from? We don't have it. Yes, comes straight out of central banks, straight from the Federal Reserve. And that mechanism is massively inflationary, but you're not supposed to know that. You have to support it. Otherwise, you are not patriotic. Otherwise, you don't care about people. You must support any and every crisis that they throw in your face. You have no choice. If you speak out against it, well, then you're just, like I said, you don't care about people. You're not patriotic. I think the patriotic thing to do is to stop all this and realize what they're actually doing. Do you know what's going on? Yeah, I've been screaming from rooftops, I like to say that for some reason, for years, how the debt bubble is the greatest threat to humankind, and it's starting to get some traction here. Understanding the mechanism here, what they've done, this fiat monetary system, this debt-based economic model, has, again, caused a population boom. Now, this is not by accident either. They're breeding us like rats. They're breeding us like rats so we can consume. The more cash that they pull out of the future into the now, again, creating this hockey stick in global debt has inflated a hockey stick in human population, okay? The greater the population has grown, the more they consume. They're breeding us like animals, like we're lab rats, okay? Only to, again, exterminate a large portion of the population by fostering and causing this debt bubble to eventually burst. Look, you know how this is going to play out, people. There's no other way around this, okay? You are like you and me both, we're like a lab experiment, okay? By vastly inflating global debt, by fostering this debt-based economic model that demands things like our president, our Congress people to put this act into effect, this policy into effect, support wars around the world. All this does is, create a mechanism here to pull cash into the now to continue to hyperinflate the global debt bubble and foster a population boom. But this seems to be fizzling out a little bit. If you were to look at a chart of the global population, it's starting to almost level off a little bit here. That should tell you something as well. And you have to understand, in order for this to function, okay, whatever they got to do to pull debt into the now, again, foster wars, send hundreds of billions of dollars over here, another $1 trillion over there, whatever they got to do to fund whatever project that they're going to force you to pay for with cash that we don't have. Central banks are more than willing to lend. What do central banks want to do? They want to be the lenders and buyers of last resort. This is a global takeover on an unprecedented scale. Central banks working in concert to bring about an inevitable end, a final solution. Does that sound familiar to you? The final solution? You might want to look that up because it's really the truth, and that's where we're going. History is repeating itself, but on a global level. And the way it's being implemented is so dark. Again, they're breeding us like we're rats, like we're animals, only to eventually pull that plug. It's all to breed consumers, make them consume. And all that does, again, is the 1% and 2%ers get richer and richer and richer off the system. You understand? And they're going to, it's always like that. There's no such thing ever as a trickle down. Whenever you hear that, a trickle anywhere, okay, it doesn't work. And if you look at the way society right now is being molded, it's being formed. Again, a wipeout of the middle class, the wealthy, the extremely wealthy continue to get richer. The people at the lower rung, they're already done, but they're creating slaves to the system. You all know that. This whole thing is so absolutely insane. You couldn't make it up. It's worse than a science fiction movie. But anyway, you know most of this because I've been covering it for a long time. But I want you to start thinking about these things. How do you feel that they're breeding us like we're lab rats, only to consume? Let's create consumers. Let's create consumers via the debt-based economic model. Let's pull cash from the future into the now. Let's continue to borrow cash from the future in greater and greater amounts. It must be done just to sustain where we are. Can't stay static. If the debt isn't continually borrowed exponentially, it just ends. It must continue to grow. Henceforth, why there's no budget. Henceforth, why we have to keep these stopgap measures to fund the government and everything else, because they know they can't stop. But they can't tell you these things. You're not allowed to know that this mechanism in place is, number one, is to breed consumers. Number two, to lead to an eventual extermination of the lab rats that they've allowed to grow. Okay, a lot of control here, and maximum control. World control, enslaved to a system that in reality, it's just so twisted. But I mean, I think you're getting just a inkling of it here. You understand? Anyway, I want to, being that the system again is so toxic, I want to bring something to your attention here. A bunch of things. On top of the market today getting hit. On top of the market getting hit on the back of a stable 10-year yield and a weaker dollar, which we have to consider what's really going on. Again, I told you, market's in la-la land anyway, but we'll see what they pull off. Okay, eventually, this whole thing is going to get real. I also have explained to you literally since time immemorial that there's the issue of liquidity here in the market. I mean, it's getting attention everywhere. It's getting mainstream media attention. Okay, the liquidity, debt market liquidity. The whole system is illiquid. The whole system is insolvent. Again, it functions off the relentless acquisition of debt in perpetuity. Can't stop. So I have told you for years that the Federal Reserve, they're involved in this repo mechanism here, basically passing cash around overnight from one institution to another. Why is this? What's the real reason behind it? You know, if you've been following this blog, it's to fake liquidity. It's to make the system believe that it's more liquid than it actually is. Well, the overnight Federal Reserve repo just hit a record of $2.366 trillion. That mechanism must continue to grow as well. You remember this was supposed to be temporary? Oh yes, the Federal Reserve, what we're going to do is open up a temporary repo facility. Remember hearing all this? Oh, but we're just going to be doing this. It's going to be transitory. I mean, come on, man. It's permanent, okay? And this mechanism here of passing cash back and forth in greater and greater amounts must occur to trick the system into thinking it is more liquid than it actually is. Otherwise, implosion. Understand? That's what this is. It's a game. It's a game. Now let us move forward here. This is kind of sad on the economic front. More Americans cannot afford to pay for basic needs, including utilities and rent. This phenomenon is going to play out on a grand scale when the debt bubble eventually bursts here. I've been telling you it's going to become a resource problem. Hyperinflation, again, in a new system. After they kill millions, tens of millions of people, the lab rats that they've been growing via the debt-based economic model, and the hockey stick exponential growth of debt paralleling the population growth, they're both going to die off. Okay, going to die off. But, that's something you already know about. Anyway, so we're already seeing this here. People are becoming more dependent on the system, as you knew they would be. We've discussed this a million times. More slaves to the system. So they will accept any new system that's put forth. People are going to beg for it. They're going to beg for it at one point. When the collapse of the current system actually gets going, and it will. We're going to all get to see it, okay? People will beg for help. Oh, don't worry. We have a solution. And of course, it's going to be their own solution. Let us now move forward here. German inflation hit a 70-year high today. My European friends, I am so sorry for what's happening to you, but this is a global phenomenon, and it's about to get worse by design. Again, all the action of the European Central Bank, all the action by the Federal Reserve and other central banks who are telling you, oh yes, we're really committed to lowering inflation, so we're going to raise that overnight rate, and it's really going to help. It has done nothing. Just as you knew, you and I, well, we would not do a damn thing since day one, because they won't tell you this is not an issue because of the rates here or raising the federal funds rate, the overnight rate's not. This is a currency issue. We're in a currency free fall. And central banks are doing nothing to stop it. In fact, they are exacerbating the problem via colluding with puppet governments who are sending hundreds of billions of dollars anywhere they want to do it. But you're not allowed to know this stuff. You understand? But I wish you would start talking about it. Really, get it out there. Anyway, let us move forward. So, look, going back to this issue with the Bank of England and this new QE, no amount of quantitative easing by any central bank is going to fix the problem. You realize that. But all it's going to do is exacerbate the problem, the underlying problem, which is exploding debt, which is continuing to, at least for now, keep the human population somewhat static. It's going to die off. People, this is a clear and present danger. It's the greatest threat to humankind. It's not global warming. It's not nuclear war. It is the debt hyper bubble. I can't say this another way. When the debt hyper bubble bursts, millions and tens of millions of people are going to lose their lives. Men, women, children, families. It's all going to go away. Okay? I just hope to see you on the other side. There's no guarantee that you're going to make it. But unless people start becoming aware of the problem and the mechanism behind it, puppet governments that are, we don't have this cash. The United States, as you will know, the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, where are we getting all this cash? Why doesn't someone ask our mummified Frankenstein president where he's getting the cash to fund this war that you're backing? And if you don't back it, you're not a patriot. Remember, you must back every crisis they throw at you. You have no choice. Land of the free, home of the brave. How's that working out for you? Anyway, that's pretty much where we are, people. Gold and silver didn't do too much today. Cryptocurrency, same thing. Crude oil under a little bit of pressure. But it's interesting to watch this unfold. The MMRI, okay, didn't do too much today. Mannarino Market Risk Indicator. There's a lot going on here. But what I want to hear from you about today, do you realize what I'm talking about when how I've explained this to you, that they are creating consumers? They've adopted this debt-based economic model. Every developed nation on earth has it. Do you think that's by coincidence as well? Have inflated this bubble in debt, caused a population boom. They're breeding us like rats so we consume. And this is all going to end very, very badly. Very badly. All right, look, I'm out of here. Consider the things I speak about. Talk about this stuff yourself. Get it the freak out there. Love you a lot. See you in the morning.